Hey everyone, it's Jeff Risdon with the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire, and I am celebrating the end of the exhibition season. Yes, it's finally come. Preseason's over. The Lions just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-17 a few minutes ago. Yeah, it was a slog. I hope that if you didn't have to watch this game and you had other things that you could have been doing today on a beautiful August afternoon here in the state of Michigan, that you did that, because this was not a great game. The Lions didn't play any starters. They didn't play anybody of consequence at all. The Steelers did a little bit, and that kind of went how you would expect it at the beginning of the game. It was 14-0 Pittsburgh before a lot of people even got settled in. And then the Steelers pulled their top players, and the Lions won the rest of the game. And that was kind of fun. It was kind of like Kansas City a week ago, which was testament to a few things. There were a few takeaways from this game that I wanted to talk about, and I wrote them all down at Lions Wire. Not all of these that we're going to talk about are there, but I wanted to expound upon them a little bit. And sometimes, things get lost in the translation when you write it, and it doesn't read like how you said it in your mind. That seems to be a common occurrence in our world these days. So I thought I would make it a little bit easier and clarify, or just extrapolate upon some of the things. So with that, let's go. All right. Try to keep these as brief as I can because I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten all day. It's about that time. Let's start with Hendon Hooker. Hooker started out 3 of 4 for 17 yards, but also had 4 sacks and a lost fumble among that time, and the net passing yards at the end of the first quarter was -7. I will say that at least 2 of those sacks were directly on Hendon himself, and that's frustrating because this was his chance to shut everyone up, including me, that says he should be the number 2. Nate Sudfeld is a dead end. What are we doing here? And he didn't do that. Didn't look composed. It didn't look ready for the playing against a Pittsburgh defense that, by my count, started 6 starters. Now that's fungible. I need to check with some Steelers sources on that. But it looked like, obviously TJ Watt didn't play, but a lot of their guys who are going to play, some did play, and by and large, Hooker did not look good against those guys at all. And it was indecisiveness. It was a little bit of a deer in the headlights look when the pass rush came at him up the A gap, which is not great. Then he settled in and looked, and as he did in Kansas City, when he was going against the guys who probably aren't going to make the team or aren't going to ever play other than special teams, he looked very good. I wish he would learn to slide a little bit better. That's something that his mother told him to do, and he didn't really listen to her. He had a couple of half-ass slides today that got him hit again. So there's a lot of work to be done with Hendon Hooker, and I remain very optimistic for his long-term future. I do. I like what I see a lot, but it's not there yet, guys. It's just not. I do not trust him to be the number 2, and while my opinion doesn't matter, Dan Campbell's does. And it's pretty clear from when Dan talked to us before the final practice that they still value Sudfeld. They still see him as the number 2, and nothing we saw today is going to change that. So be prepared. I'm just going to be the bearer of bad tidings here. Be prepared that Nate Sudfeld will be the number 2 quarterback listed when the Lions play the Rams in a few weeks, and they will be keeping 3 quarterbacks. It seems like a foregone conclusion. Both of those do now. And Hooker could have stopped that today, but he didn't play well enough to do it. Like, that's straight up, you gotta call it like you see it. And he just wasn't there. I did like the run game. I thought the running backs specifically, Jermar Jefferson, Jake Funk, and Zonovan Knight, all played very well today. I thought they did a very good job. And I will give Knight credit, even though his stats don't look that great, Dude squeezed every single inch he could out of his runs. There was not good blocking, and I'll get to that in a minute. Thought Funk played great. Almost certainly his last time in a Lions uniform. He's a veteran. He's not going to make the team. Is probably a guy that needs to bounce to a different practice squad if he wants to keep going at all. Honestly, I would love to see him in the UFL. I think he'd do very well there. But he had a great day. I really wish he would have caught that last pass because it was there for him on the wheel route. Just didn't quite connect. But by the way, that's a play the Lions run for Sione Vaki a lot, and he's really, really good at it. Funk wasn't quite there, but that's one of the reasons why Sione Vaki's here and Jake Funk won't be. But good luck to you, Jake, because you played very well today. Also did well on special teams, which is a rarity for this team today. Yeah, we'll get to that one, too. I do want to talk about Jermar a little bit, though. 2 touchdowns today, ran very hard. Look, he's got a real uphill battle to try to make this team as the 5th running back. I don't think they're keeping 5. I think you'll not find many people who project him to make it. And, he's had a lot of chances. He looks so good today, though. Receiving, running, pass protection, where he has, when he was a rookie, one of the reasons why he never got on the field was because he was god-awful at pass protection. It's one of the reasons why he fell in the draft, because at the Senior Bowl, I remember watching the drills. He wasn't even touching the dudes in the one, when the running back has to block the safety or the linebacker. He wasn't even touching these guys when they were getting around him. He'd drop his head, throw a shoulder, miss. So there's improvement there, and that's great. Hope he stays on the practice squad, but he's a guy that I wouldn't fault him for trying to look elsewhere if another team is interested in picking him up and getting him on their practice squad. But that's up to him and his agent. We'll see what happens with that. But good for him for at least, if this was the last time we see Jermar Jefferson in the Lions uniform, he did good. And got some cheers from the fans, and that was nice to see. He's a good person, a good guy who's just caught up in a numbers game. The team has gotten that much better around him that he doesn't really have a chance. And that's good for all of us. It's not so good for 28. Let's talk about the blocking. The starting offensive line today, which features no starters, so you got to put that in, was dog crap. And that's being polite. Hooker had no time. There was very few creases in the run game. It was not good. And it wasn't any one person. Colby Sorsdal had a few bad reps. Kingsley Aguakun had a few bad reps. He also had one where he forgot to snap the ball, which as the center is kind of important. I don't think that who else was in there early? It just wasn't great. They were getting blessed. Now obviously Pittsburgh is a team that is built around their defensive front, both linebackers and defensive line, so it makes sense that Pittsburgh would have some success there. And that context is important. But I wanted to see a little bit more from some of those guys who are fighting to make jobs. Michael Neese is another one. I actually thought once the Steelers took out their top guys on defense, I thought he looked very good playing guard. But when he's in there against guys that he would actually play against in the regular season, wasn't there. Wasn't there for any of those guys. Look, I've talked about this a couple times, whether it's on the Huge Show or, I did another podcast yesterday that I will post at Lions Wire later today with the Our Lads Network. And I've talked about it a little bit on the shows with Chris. Existential dread of key injuries is something that every team faces. Lions are no different. No team is equipped to lose an all-pro or their starting quarterback or, very important pieces to their puzzle. That's true every team. For the Lions, though, the offensive line is a little bit more important because they have a quarterback in Jared Goff who is spectacular behind the starting offensive line. But even last year, when he was a worthy Pro Bowler, he wasn't great under pressure. He was okay. It wasn't Nathan Peterman out there. This wasn't Nate Sudfeld out there. It wasn't Tim Boyle. But his numbers and rating declined precipitously when he was put under pressure. The offense requires a good offensive line. That's what Ben Johnson's scheme is all about, built in conjunction with Jared Goff. So when Colby Sorsel keeps struggling, when Aguakun doesn't have a great day, when Duke Clemens just gets turnstiled repeatedly in his quest to make the team, that bad day for 63, man. I'm rooting for you, but that's didn't go well. When you see that, that's tough to stomach. And I guess a couple of positives with it. Coyote Alshika did not play today. That should be interpreted as a sign that he is making the roster, because I don't believe he had any injuries. He was practicing Wednesday. Didn't look like he was any worse for the wear. So Manu stepped up later in the game. That was nice to see. He played very well against Kansas City. I would encourage you to watch Nick Baumgartner's film breakdown of him. It's on your YouTube. Look it up. Manu played very well in Kansas City. I thought overall he had a good day today, too, and that's very nice to see the growth from the big rookie. He did have 2 false starts. He got away with a holding penalty, and I don't remember the exact timestamp on the play, but if you go back and rewatch the game, you will see it. And the Steelers, he's begging because he got held around the neck and kind of twisted and thrown, and no flag came out. Lions getting a little home cooking from the refs. That was kind of nice. So more progress from Manu. Is he ready to be tackle 3? Nope. Is he ready to be tackle 4? I'm feeling better about it every time. It's nice to see. The growth that he's shown in such a short time has been very, very redeeming for the organization, and in my eyes, for Hank Fraley, because this was a guy that, again, he talked about it. They had 4 plays, 4 blocks that he had to execute in college. On the Lions, he has about 70 to know between combinations, movements, and things like that. This guy who didn't play football until he was almost 20 years old. It's pretty cool to see, honestly. It doesn't mean that he's going to be worth much during the 2024 season, but it's nice to see that the arrow is going up. So Dan Campbell loves to do this in his press conferences. You want to keep that arrow going up, 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 up. Manu's doing that. It's good. A few guys that didn't have it going up. I don't want to spend too much time on them because I think we all saw it. If you watched the game, Donovan Peoples-Jones, that was rough, man. You're given every opportunity to win the job, and instead you run away from the opportunity. He missed his moment. I'm a big fan of the Tom Cruise movie with Emily Blunt in it and Bill Paxton as the drill sergeant. You're going to miss your moment. Well, he missed his moment. Tip of the spear, edge of the blade, crack of my ass. That's what happened there. Dorius Fountain, given numerous chances, because he started camp going this way, and then it went that way. Dropped the ball. Ran a great route, got open. Hooker's throw wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. He put it on the ground. Can't do that if you're trying to win a job. Can't do it. James Mitchell dropped an easy swing pass from me to the TV, which is about 6 feet over there. Can't do that. Can't do that when you're trying to win a job. Not when Shane Zylstra, who, by the way, also missed one, but it was thrown. I don't think he expected that throw coming from Hooker. I want to rewatch that to make sure. He probably still should have caught it, but the one from Mitchell was that was the designed play, and he volleyballed it away. Would have been a double in volleyball, by the way. See, volleyball aficionado myself. Here, can't do that when you're trying to make the team. When again you see Zylstra making good catches, making solid. By the way, this was the best Shane Zylstra I had seen block in a long time. That's been my biggest knock on him all summer. I thought he looked pretty good blocking today. Again, I got to go back and watch the tape, but this is just first reactions on it. Based on today, I like what I see for him to make the team over Mitchell. But again, that's not my call. That's Brad Holmes' call. That's Dane Campbell's call. Ben Johnson's call. Steve Heiden's call. We'll see how that comes out of it. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one because Parker Hesse didn't play today. Does that mean that he's safe? Do you want to read too much into that? Leads to another thing that I talked about in the notes. One of the big things that I hyped all week, Dan shut me up because I was wrong about it. Happens. I thought Kindle Vildor versus Khalil Dorsey was going to be like one of the biggest battles to watch today. Top 4 cornerbacks are sitting out. These two are battling for number 5. Most of us generally believe that they're only keeping 5 cornerbacks. They both sat today. So what does that mean? I wish I knew. Does it mean they're both safe? Does it mean that the decision's already been made on one or the other? I wish I knew. Because that really threw me, quite frankly, to see Essang Bassey out there starting. Oh wow, 17's out there. Okay. By the way, this is why you don't tweet. Tweet at the beginning of the game that Bassey started, and I said, and he's looked pretty good in camp, or something to that effect. In the short time that he's been there, and then he gets toasted for a deep pass where he gave up the completion, got burned in coverage, completely whiffed on a block on a punt return or kick return. I'm like, well, that's how it goes. Live action tweets in real time. Not always the best idea, especially when you look back on them in retrospect. But to be fair to, Bassey had looked solid in practice. For a guy who had been there for, I think, a little over a week. Okay, you know what? I see why they brought him in. And today you saw why he's not going to make the team and why he was available. That's the way that goes. But that Dorsey-Vildor dynamic, that's one of the biggest things that I'm watching for this coming week. If they both make it, because if they both make it, then what other position do they go light on? Do they only keep 3 tight ends instead of 4? And my theory is that they're keeping 4. Do they cut one less? Only keep 4 wide receivers, which should be Isaiah Williams as the number 4. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there's not a single person watching this video who thinks that if they keep only guys that are here this summer, that Isaiah Williams is going to be the number 4. There's no question about that. I don't think Tom Kennedy or Caden Davis have made a strong enough case to usurp that. Maurice Alexander had a very good day today. Good for him. He's a guy that deserves to land somewhere, probably in the UFL or maybe on another team's practice squad. Looked good as a returner too. But he's just not, doesn't have the upside or youthful, zest, and versatility of Isaiah Williams. So, that's the hard part. And I tweeted about it a little bit this morning. This is a hard day, hard few days, but for those of us who do cover the draft and get to know, I'm not going to say all these guys, but a lot of these guys as prospects, and even personally interacting with quite a few of them, that their dreams dying today. This is the last time that Maurice Alexander is wearing a Lions uniform for the most part. It seems that way. A guy like, I'm trying to think who else fits that mold. But there's guys that are not going to have jobs after this week and won't latch on anywhere else. And that is one of the hardest parts of doing what I do. And, that's not even close to what it is for the coaches and the players themselves and their agents who have to, ride this roller coaster all the time with these guys. And, it's their livelihoods. And I hate that for them. I really do. I hate having to talk bad about some players that are not going to, like Essang Bassey. Gave it his all, man. Wasn't good enough. It's a harsh reality, but at the same time, it is the reality. And, it sucks, man. I hate that. I do. Sorry for the emotional divergence there. There was another player that, and I didn't even notice this until I was looking at the game box score at the end of the game. Ben Neiman didn't play in this game as a healthy scratch. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what's important about that? Well, what's important about that is because he is linebacker 6, and none of the 5 guys ahead of him played either. Rodrigo's injured, like we knew he wasn't going to play. Jalen Reeves-Maybin didn't play. Campbell, Barnes, Anzalone, none of them played. So, does that mean that Ben Neiman is safe? He's gotten a lot of second-team looks. I don't know. Was this an indication that, he's safe and they're going to keep 6 linebackers, because that sort of flies against conventional wisdom from a lot of projections of mine and a lot of others that I respect that you'll see out there. A lot of us have them only keeping 5 linebackers, but with Neiman sitting out today, I don't know. He's a great special teamer, has been a great special teamer for a long time. They don't have Pittman in that role anymore. Maybe, I don't know. That's one that throws my calculus for the 53-man team off a little bit. So that's another one that I'm curious about. Want to give a quick acknowledgement to Jake Fromm, who we did not think was going to play. Dan Campbell basically told us that he wasn't going to play. He did not take a single practice rep all week. He was off on the second field both Tuesday and Wednesday when the media were allowed there. The only thing I saw him do other than like running was he was the guy that when the long snapper snapped it back to Jack Fox, Fox would throw it forward, and Fromm was the guy catching the ball and giving it to the long snapper. That's literally the extent of his work this week. So he had no real prep. He came in and completed a lot of passes, iced the game at the end. That's nice to see. I don't think he has any chance of making the roster. I don't think he's not bumping Nate Sudfeld out of the role. I know people don't really like Nate Sudfeld. Trust me, look for the video. I don't like him either. But the Lions do. And there's a concept in psychology called radical acceptance. We got to come to the radical acceptance that Nate Sudfeld is the backup quarterback for this team, whether we like it or not. The Lions do like it. They're not perfect, but they also see things that we don't necessarily see. So you got to, if you're gonna be the trust in Brad guy, and pretty much everybody is, I am too. You got to understand that he's not going to bat 1,000. He's going to have some misses, and I think this is one of those, but time will tell. We'll see. A couple other things that I wanted to hit on. Jake Bates. So, and this came up a little bit on Twitter when I mentioned that he mishit his kickoff. And a couple people suggested to me that they were trying something different. No. Their explicit purpose in kickoffs on this game was not experimentation. They're trying to figure out who's on the coverage units. And when he kicks a squib kick where he just mishit that ball, that's bad. Gave the Steelers the ball at the 40-yard line. When I got to talk to Dave Phipp a little over a week ago, and John Macaron from SI was there with me, he made it clear that that penalty is an unacceptable penalty. It's like not tolerable to miss the kickoff landing zone. And then he missed it again on the next one, kicked it out of bounds. That can't happen. Missed a 30-yard field goal from the dead middle of the field. Snap was perfect. Hold was perfect. Like, that's a kick. Me, as a 50-something washed athlete, I can go down to the local park. I can make 8 out of 10 from there. I'd put good money on that. He's not, between extra points and that field, he's not there. And this is tough because the Lions clearly have a lot of confidence in Jake Bates. And I want to. I want to have that confidence. I really do. I really do. Damn, man, it's hard. It's hard when you see him missing extra points in every practice, just about. When he's missing gimme field goals that I watch middle school kickers make routinely. Like, I get that he's green. I get that he's got an incredible leg. But can we trust 43 to go out there and make an extra point after we just scored a game tying touchdown where we get within 1 point and then we lose to the Packers because he misses the extra point? Do you have enough faith in Jake Bates to think that he's going to make that kick? Can you say definitively that that's not going to happen? I can't. I don't think the Lions can either. I hope they at least bring somebody else in as a veteran kicker on the practice squad to work with him. And I did actually express that today, Fip. I'm like, because Fip gave a very good explanation of why they didn't bring somebody else in. I respect that. I buy it. It's perfectly valid reasons. I still want to see him have a guy that he can turn to and is like, hey, was my plant foot like twisted a little bit? Where did I hit that? Why did I miss that? He's not getting that immediate feedback from somebody with experience right now, and I really hope that they give him that. And also somebody that I don't know who's going to be available at kicker. I know that the Browns just traded Cade York to Washington because Washington got tired of watching Riley Patterson miss 38-yard field goals short, and he did. He's not an option. Sorry. He has the weakest leg of any kicker I've ever seen in the NFL, and I've covered a lot of teams for a lot of time. It's just not there for him. But they can bring somebody in that can mentor and or challenge him, push him. Push is the better word there. Push him to be the best Jake Bates he can be. I'll be all right with that. But they can't just ask us to accept this on blind faith. They can't. Because if they're not seeing that, look, I know it's fashionable. Oh, Dan Campbell's not going to kick anyways. Come on, you'll watch that. Like, yeah, I get that. And, there's a lot of times where I agree with Dan on that. Like, I would rather them go for it. If it's 4th and 2 from the 30, it could be a 48-yard field goal. I kind of want them to go for that. I do. I don't mind them eschewing the field goal there. But there are times when you are going to have to make a kick. I can't trust Jake Bates. I watched him in the playoff game in the UFL gladly miss a kick and also get another one blocked because he barely got the ball kicked above his holder or his snapper. It's great to root for the guy. It's a fun story, but that doesn't win football games. So I hope that they do something there. And that doesn't mean getting rid of Bates. It just means helping him, augmenting him. The other thing that I noticed was the kickoff coverage and punt coverage was not good today. And I didn't take a lot of note about it in the Kansas City game, but a lot of the feedback, especially in the Patreon Slack, was like, what's up with these guys? Like, they did not look good then either. I'm going to have to go back and pay more attention to that, I guess. But they weren't good today either. Now, some of that is that Neiman's not out there, that Vildor's not out there. Vildor's been great on that. Jalen Reeves-Maben, all pro there. Like, they're missing some dudes there, so I get that. But yeah, that was tough. One quick thing that came to attention right after the game, Ifeatu Melifonwu did not play, and Dan did not sound super optimistic that he's going to be available soon. And that's tough because Brandon Joseph, who had already, I don't want to say that he'd pushed past Melifonwu, but he had certainly been trending that way, even when Iffy was healthy. Just because he makes more plays on the ball in practice consistently and is better dropping backwards in coverage. If he's certainly better going forward. You certainly saw that today with Brandon Joseph. He's not really good going forward yet. But if he's been dealing with an Achilles, we did not see him at all at the facility this week. And it sounds like he's a guy that could be an IR candidate. And that's a shot at the depth. That's one of those guys who was making the roster. And now you could probably see him going on the IR. Again, that's my speculation. I heard Dan say it. Beyond that, I don't know, but he didn't sound super optimistic about that. And generally, Dan's pretty straightforward on that sort of stuff. So Pay attention to that because that is CJ Moore making the team. That is an opportunity for a guy like Lawrence Strickland to somehow sneak on, although I think he's destined for the practice squad. But that could be where, to answer my earlier conundrum, where Kendall Vildor and Khalil Dorsey both make the team. I don't know. We'll see. That's what's going to be fun for the next couple of days. I've talked at you enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Chris and I will be live with you again after roster cutdowns this week. Ash is starting the dailies pretty soon. You got Bish and Brown coming. Dr. Liao, who, by the way, I have to remark, is now part of the Lions Wire team. You will see his injury evaluations at Lions Wire. I'm very proud to have hired him for that. Keep checking out his stuff as well. And with that, go Lions and enjoy the rest of your weekend.